a busy weekend, busy week, but anyway, this is the prediction fight between Bernard Hopkins and Bad Chad Dawson. And what I'm going to do is break down both the fighters, and then I will give my prediction at the end of the fight. First, we'll start off with Bernard Hopkins, who's 52 foot. Anyway, we'll start with Bernard Hopkins, who's 52 5-2, 32 knockouts, 53% knockout ratio. But that's a bit skewed, because he hasn't had a knockout since 2004. So his last, basically like his last 10 fights have all went the distance. So even though he's 46 years old and the oldest champion ever to hold the belt, he's still got the stamina to go all the distance. He can go all the way, man. He's got no problem. He does it. Why? Because he's an absolute defensive master. The man knows more about fighting right now than pretty much any other fighter that's out there, save for maybe Floyd Mayweather Jr. He does stuff, everything he does in the ring is premeditated, it's pre-calculated. There's nothing that he can't really do. He goes in there, and he also bends the rules about as much as you possibly can too. Now he can go out, he can box, he can bang, he can counter. There's nothing in the fight game that he can't do, and he's constantly evolving his game. He studies you, he learns your tendencies, he knows what you do, and then he takes advantage of them. Let me go through some of the stuff I wrote down now. He should be the winner of his last 5 fights, if you really think about it. I mean, you know, they all went the distance. He is a KG pro. When we look at that, he knows how to frustrate you, and he finds that and he exploits that. If he knows that you're open for the straight right hand, he throws the straight right hand. If he knows you're kind of susceptible to the body, he pounds you to the body. Ask Trinidad about that. You know, there are a lot of things that he does very well. He uses his head better than most people use their fists, and you'll see that when they're in the fight. He seems like he's reborn every fight. He comes out with something different. He's always on the cutting edge with training. Really pushes himself. He's a specimen. He's got a great chin. You know, when you think about that too. And rarely does he get hit flush. As the punch comes in, he turns it to deflect the shot. He rolls with the punch. He takes a lot off of the punch. He very rarely gets hit flush. He's very good at countering. So when you see him and it looks like he's letting the guy in, it's just so he can roll and then pop right back with that straight right hand or the hook or whatever he does. He'll roll with the shots and then he fires right back and he counters on you. And if you leave your hands down, if you're open, you get hit. Now, just because he hasn't knocked somebody out in 10 fights doesn't mean that he doesn't have that potential in him. He has power, he brings it, but he chooses to conserve his energy. Conserve? Did we just invent a new word, Eduardo? You think? Maybe conserve. We'll try it. We'll see if it works. Anyway, he tries to conserve his energy. That way he can last throughout the fight and fight his fight style. Because he's not going to fight yours. You know, he's going to bend. His will break your will, and then you will wind up fighting his fight style and go, what's going on here? Now, he's not the most active of all fighters, and you'll see that by his punch totals, but they are very, they're pretty accurate, and he lands when he throws. He does drop the right when he does fire out his power jab, but you know, he only fires that out about 10 to 20 times a fight, so you're not really going to see that happen a whole lot in there. But he could get caught with maybe even an uppercut when he throws those. Over to Chad Dawson, who's 30-1 with 17 knockouts. Again, 53% knockout ratio here, and he's 29, but he's not the same fighter that he was when he fought Adamek, or Adamek, however you want to pronounce it. He's not that guy anymore. There's something missing in his game. Now, he's got Emmanuel Stewart in his corner now. This is the second fight with him. But when you look at his fighting style, what he does, he gets hit flush way too often. He's got a good jab. He throws nice combos. He's got good 1-2s. The hook occasionally comes in. Not big on it. But what you haven't seen a lot recently is the way he pounds the body and stuff. He really doesn't do that a whole lot anymore. He is very open for flush shots. When he throws punches, he Well, his hands are down anyway. So he has his hands here. Whenever he backs up, he drops his hands as he backs up. And the problem is, and if I had the camera angled a certain way, is his back foot, now he's a southpaw. So when he steps back, when he comes back and the hands drop, his back foot is almost even with his back. And when you're straight up like that, well, you can't go back anymore. You know what I'm saying? You can get knocked off. Now, it's not to say he doesn't have fast feet or something like that, because he can get out of the way, he can move, he can get out of the, he can push off and stuff like that, but a majority of the time when someone's coming at him or anything like that, he does go straight back and he does drop his hands. So those are some of the things that you see that are kind of worrying. And because he's 29, but he's an old 29. And if you watch fights and know fights, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's some Paul Williams is old for his age in there when you see it. Did the pull straight back, brings him back low. He loads up when he throws the lead left. When he's throwing the lead left, you'll see him actually stop. Let me put that down. You'll see him stop, pull back, and then throw. So as he's coming in, he pulls back and then he fires the left hand. And when you see that just tells you the only thing you got to do with that, take a step back and get ready to counter. Or if you're right-handed, you take that step and then you fire the right. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Anyway, he's got an okay hook. Doesn't throw the body near as much as he used to. He has good stamina, but the chin is questionable. I mean, Adamek rocked him good and dropped him in that fight. He's active, but he's not a 100 punch per round guy. So unlike Joe Calzaghe, who had success with Bernard Hopkins, he gave you the blueprint. You got to be very active. But the problem is people, well, you're just not as good as Calzaghe. Sorry. He's got the fast footwork, can't move. Decent D, but he still gets hip flush too much. So looking at this is one of those fights where it's going to be close. Hopkins is going to lose rounds just because he's Hopkins, doing his thing, waiting for the later rounds. And it's going to be one of those 116 to 112 or 115, 113s that are going to go Hopkins' way. And that's how I see this fight. I do not see a knockout happening, but I think you're going to see an even older version of Chad Dawson in the ring. Did I just say that when he's going up against a 46-year-old dude? Anyway, that's what I think, and I'm really not going to be picking a whole lot against Hopkins until he loses. And if you look at the last fights that Dawson has had, I mean, yeah, Pascal was 28, and Pascal handled him pretty good. And then, with Diacono, he was 33. But then you've got Glenn Johnson, who's 42 now, but he was 40 when he fought them then. And then you had Antonio Tarver, who was 40, and then they were both 39. So, I mean, he's really fought the aged fighters over his last 6 fights when you look at the big picture of who he's fighting. And then if you throw, and without even throwing Bernard Hopkins in, he's already fighting guys that average out like 37 years old. So, yeah, he's fighting older guys, but he looks like he's aged himself. So, there you have it. Unanimous decision I have for Bernard Hopkins. Please comment, rate, subscribe, be my friend, be Eduardo's friend. Let's all just get along. Okay? Well, hey, this is Bigragu. I'm out.